looking at yesterday.
Welcome to the March 1st meeting of the Lyman Planning Board. This meeting will come to order. This is a public proceeding unless the board specifically votes to go into executive session. You have the right to hear everything that's being said and look at all exhibits that are offered. If the board votes to go into executive session, the reason for the same shall be stated. Please notify the board chair if you're having difficulty seeing or hearing. This meeting is being recorded for YouTube. In each instance, the burden is upon the applicant to demonstrate compliance with the provisions of the applicable ordinance or ordinances. After the board votes on the merits of each project, it will prepare a written opinion, which will be forwarded within 7 days. The board works from a prepared agenda. We'll be considering tonight's items in the following order. William and Elsie Johnson, 57 Oscar Littlefield Road, map 20, lot 27, roof pitch. Roy Family Spirit of Camp, Dan Roy, map 28, lot 27, 42 White House Road. Best practical location, add a foundation, usable space under current structure. Number 3, proposed zoning ordinance changes. Derek Green, map 6, lot 58, 857 South Waterboro Road. Minimum lot size variance requests. And Steve Austin, map 17, lot 60, 119 Shore Road. Wants to put an ADU on property, but can't meet the setbacks. Now, we have enough people for a quorum tonight?
May we do a roll call?
Yes, we can.
Kelly Demers, 10 Partridge Way.
Joe Wagner, 26.
Don Hernan, 33 Murphy's Way.
Rod T2, 357 Walker Road.
Cecile Dupuy, 53 Chapel Shores Road.
Bill Single, 8 Single Lane.
And Mr. Chair, I move that it's Kelly's turn this time around.
Yeah.
He will serve as a full voting member of tonight's meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, William and Elsie Johnson.
This new plans, I only had printed out 2 extras.
Okay.
I think I need you. Okay. They came in, there should be a paper in the folder. Over there.
Oh, it's in the, under the new, oh, amazing.
New business.
This is what we got, Cecilia. Let's share this with you.
Thank you.
Okay. Good to spell it.
You ready?
Yep.
Basically, with the height requirements, we would like to have a pitched roof instead of a flat roof, so we don't have to go on the roof and clear it with snow and things like that. So we found out that the incline of the lot is very steep, so it makes it where I guess it's about 20, I think it was 20, sorry. We had it on here. I think it was like 23 feet high and at an 8 by 12 roof, and that's the average, which is a couple feet higher than it needs to be. I guess, and it's only for half of the house, I guess, because the setback from the lake which shows the 75-foot setback would be about half of the house. So we were hoping we could get a regular pitched roof for the whole house as opposed to half, because we have one of those half already at the current house next door that we live in. And we just prefer the.
I'm not sure that the board remembers, but you did do a best practical location.
Yeah, we did.
October, I think.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
So we
Yeah.
have been out there, and
Yeah, I
they were
remember.
building, the same house, the same location, and it ended up being, I think, 61.5. The thing is that now they're putting it under a standard, foundation. It makes the height level that much difference, and you, the ordinance says 20 feet.
And where the door will be, we can't really sink the house further down with the septic tank and the doors, because we don't want to really go down into the house.
Mhm.
So those are some of the issues. I don't know if there's options that you have that, so we could have a pitched roof rather than a flat roof, like, because of the steepness of the lot. I don't know if we can do like a retaining wall
What is
and build
that?
it up.
Height.
Yeah.
Because, and I know that he did mention, like, I think our door is already pretty much at grade.
I believe
And I
it
know
says
that
in
we
there
get
the
a lot
height
of
can be
runoff.
averaged.
on
Mr.
the
Chair,
road.
Yes, Kelly.
I'd like some clarification. The minutes say 57 Oscar Littlefield Road,
That's my
And the map-
current house.
and the map
I'm
of
sorry.
lot, but this shows 59.
We are,
So
It
yes.
is 59.
Oh, it's 59.
We're not getting rid of
Oh.
that house yet, sorry.
That was a typo, early on.
Okay.
it's not lot 27.
It's not,
Oh, the lot is wrong too?
I got that wrong.
So it would be lot 29?
Lot 29, all right. Sorry about that, guys.
Okay.
59.
Old record.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Good.
So, on one of them, you can see the elevation that they put on.
Can you see it? Yeah, it shows 21 foot, 6 inches for the front. That's your high point. Or does it say 27?
I think and then he averaged it. I think, on the new one, is it the new one?
It's right here. I can't tell if that's a 1 or 7.
27'6". Rear elevation.
27'6".
Yeah.
20'6" front elevation.
Oh, and then 24 is the average. From the height. It's a, yeah, it's a ranch, I guess, a square, not a long one.
Maximum height is 20 feet, or the height of the existing structure, whichever is greater.
All right, 20 feet on the height of the existing structure.
Mhm.
Where are you?
Whichever is greater. So if they're below 20 feet, they can go up to 20 feet. That's
Right.
page 6.
But they're going up to meet
Page
the
6,
other.
I don't know if that's much of a pitch. I was hoping a bigger
So,
pitch.
Aye.
but
I have a
we
question
do what
for
we
you.
have to do.
You're only changing the front part of the roof on this side, right? You're leaving this one the same height? This one on the back?
That's not our house.
Oh, this is your house?
No.
I got two of them together then. I'm sorry.
It was a flat roof before.
Oh, on this one,
The original house was a flat roof, yeah.
and you're not looking to dormer like you are on 57.
No, we don't like the,
Check dormer.
no, because my husband has to put the ladder up there and try to get snow off, and he's trying to reduce any of that kind of danger. I don't like to hold the ladder too much, but I do. Sorry. I'm
No,
being
no,
honest.
honestly. I'm just thinking.
So do we have we had an application for this, did we? Is this all
There
we
would
have?
be a second
I
floor.
believe we did.
Just add
Yeah, we did.
boxes,
Wasn't this-
cell hole.
We didn't even figure
Because I
that
thought it
out
was
think
an
this was-
issue you just had.
Yeah, it would just
I
be,
thought it was too.
right now, it's just nothing. And we
we
wouldn't have
turn this
any,
over?
Check with Brenda.
we wouldn't be a living space at all.
Okay.
No.
Brenda, did we go through this and turn this over to you?
No, that was the other
No,
one I
this just
showed.
came up after the builder came in and started doing the plans.
But we did the sidewalk back in,
We did.
whatever it was, October, November.
Mhm.
And then they were gonna come back when they had plans, right? So that's what this is all about?
I think the approval was that because they said they were building the same house in the same.
Right.
So you left it, just don't get any closer than 61.5.
Right.
So I thought you were done with it.
Yeah, okay, so
And I
that's
think
what
we
I
thought it
thought.
was, I don't know, this is the first time I've ever done any of this, so I just assumed that wasn't an issue. And then I was like, hey, don't forget the height requirements, and then with the pitch of the land, it just got complicated.
Well, I mean, it says 25 feet, right? I mean,
20,
which
20
part?
for 70, I, page 6,
Page
it's,
6, I.
C, non-conforming structures
Okay,
under
the maximum
I.
height of any structure may not be
CI.
greater than 20 feet or the height of the existing structure, whichever is greater.
So the highest point of the house right now is what? The existing house, what was the height?
I don't remember. I don't think we measured that. Wasn't, it definitely wasn't.
We don't have a plan for our,
Yeah, no, it was such an old house. It definitely wasn't, it was a flat roof. It wasn't very tall. It was just one story.
one story.
Yeah. And it pretty much came right to the front door, pretty much came right to grade level and went down. And then it did go up from the lake. But I don't know how. I've been on top of it, shoveling it for our neighbor when it was his, but we never really.
So it's not likely it was 20 feet. So
I
then
don't think
if it was
so.
below 20 feet, then the limit would be 20 that you could go.
Yeah, I don't think it was.
We're talking front elevation of 20+6. Rear elevation, topography, walkout daylight basement, that's kind of hard to say. You know, yes, no, maybe so, because if it was a full buried foundation, we wouldn't be concerned about the back portion.
That's why we didn't know if there's something we could build. The hard thing is it is very steep in that sense, and building it up, I don't know where it's like, if you guys building it up, which is worse. Do you know what I mean? We don't want to do the wrong thing, of course.
Well, I don't see a lot of room here for variance. I mean, if you're less than 75 feet, right, which you are,
Yep, part of the house, like around half of it would be.
yeah, so it says the max height may not be greater than 20 feet or the height of the existing structure, whichever is greater.
Yes, exactly.
So
I know, I understand. That's why we're here, to see if there's any leeway, any kind of flexibility.
I don't,
We can't grant variances.
The other option is go with a 7/12 pitch instead of the 8/12 pitch, and that'll bring you down over 15 feet, 1 inch on,
I don't know.
you're bringing down 2 feet. And you still have a relatively steep pitch, if you're concerned about the snow load.
That is what we're concerned of mainly.
No, I mean,
And-
the planning board we don't have any ability to grant variances from the ordinance as written. I mean, sometimes we discuss moving the structure back at best, practical location. There's a discussion there, but this is pretty cut
It's
and
a tight
dry,
lot, yeah.
unless there's some other thing that we're missing here.
The other thing that I wasn't sure if the planning board has the authority to waive what's in the ordinance. But if you look on page 36,
Page 36.
I believe the ZBA does have the authority.
Yeah.
Because if you look under variance appeal, it says they have the authority where relaxation of terms of the ordinance will not be contrary to public interest. So I wasn't sure, but I couldn't get them to the ZBA until you say you can't. do it.
Where's that, Brenda?
In
Page
the
36?
zoning ordinance.
On the zoning or the shoreline?
Not shoreline.
I'm not sure.
I'm sorry?
She's in shoreline.
She's in shoreline.
Oops. But this doesn't apply at all? I mean, the ZBA couldn't hear that?
I guess they could. I don't.
The ZBA can
well,
hear anything, right?
They can hear it. They can hear anything,
I
but
mean, the ordinance defines the duties of the ZBA,
Yeah.
and it doesn't say whether it's shoreland or commercial or residential or whatever, it just says what their authority is.
But the only, I mean, I would suggest that if the applicant wants to go to ZBA, that'd be great. But I would point out that there's 4 criteria, as I remember.
I think
And,
that's fine.
Yeah, what page you on that? Make sure I'm
It's on
saying.
page 36, what I'm referring to.
36, okay, gotcha. Let me check that for a second.
You're right, there is 4.
Yeah, and we've had this before on other subjects. And it, you know, it gives the criteria, and I don't know. But it's up, I think it's up to the applicant to, you know, if you want to go to the zoning board of appeals, I think that certainly is your right to do so.
Yeah, I'll talk to my husband, that, he understands, we both understand, we just, you know, try every avenue first.
No,
I
I
suggest the easiest one is drop the roof pitch down to a 712 and it's back.
You think that would fit it? Okay,
Yeah, you're dropping an inch every 12 feet.
I don't see where they,
Half the,
And
you're gonna
it's
be 30
30.
feet, so it'd be 15 feet, you're gonna be dropping 15 inches.
yeah.
And no more than 20 feet.
and that would fit,
No.
have them redraw this and make 2 things.
What do you think? Brenda?
I'm not a builder, so right now you're speaking to me. I talked to the contractor, and the architect,
Yeah.
and there was a reason why he didn't.
Why he didn't like it, because most contractors are usually 412, 612, 1212 pitch, or 812 pitch. Don't know if you're going trusses or rafters, doesn't matter,
I
it's,
don't know.
I worked construction for years.
Yeah, and those are the pitches he had mentioned, like 6.
612,
12,
which means every
8,
12
12,
inches you move over, you
12.
rise 6 inches. If you're at 812, you go in 12 inches, you rise 8 inches.
And I don't know if that makes it easier for them. to-
So going with a 712 would only drop it 15 inches if
15
it's
inches.
30 feet.
You're going 30 feet on the rear. So hypothetically, they could have a full backfill the foundation instead of a walkout, and it'd still be at the height of the front. Because if we look at all those lakefront properties that have walkout basements, or even just just a steep topography. Technically, the basement's not living space, so you always figure that as grade level. If they can do the walkout, fine, great dandy, they got a bonus. Technically, they could backfill it. What do you think, Mark? Bill?
Yeah, it's complicated.
Well, you talk about the back and I call it the front, so
Oh,
Lakeside's always the front.
well, anyway, what can the planning-
Water.
what can the planning board do about this? Oh, wait, wait. I don't think
I don't
I
anything.
don't
we can
think
do
we can
anything.
really do anything, Don.
Yeah, I mean,
It's pretty straightforward.
Yeah. and again, I don't,
20 feet.
I'm not one to be negative about the zoning board of appeals, but I would suggest that it's a little hard to get, to meet the criteria for a variance, but that's up to you to go that route if you care to.
Okay.
And that's not our purview. We just have to go by the ordinance as written, so we don't have the ability to give variances. I mean, that's just the way it is. I'm sorry.
No, I understand. I'm not oppositional on it.
No, I know,
We're
but,
just trying to.
and I can understand why you would like it.
Because of the pitch.
Yep, I agree.
And the snow and the runoff and, yeah,
That's a good point. It's a very good point.
yeah. And it's a narrow lot for everything. That's all.
Why are you doing this project? No, never mind.
So my parents can live there.
So
Half
Brenda,
and half. They live with my sister, so I want them to spend time with me.
Well, that's nice.
on these houses, even on the waterfront, you still do an average points because it's steep.
Is there any,
Well, it says the average is 20'6", if
Yeah.
I'm reading this right.
yeah, I don't know.
I'm reading that.
From the average grade?
Yeah.
Huh.
It says maximum height with average grade 24, right? On
Yeah, that must
the
not be on
right
the right
elevation
page.
side.
So that's too high.
I think it was 20 feet.
I guess because it's 4 feet, we need to. Is that what it is? Unless they can do it.
So what is she?
That's up in
It's
44.
A12.
It's under non-conforming structure.
Yeah,
Would
see
they
there it is,
allow-
average
would-
grade.
Is it to raise it and have a retaining wall to hold the dirt to bring up that elevation? Have steps down to the water? I don't know how that works. That's how ours is currently. It has those, it has tiers to go down to the water. I don't care for the tiers. I would rather have it nice and flat, but
So on the most exposed side of the building, we won't call it front or back.
Facing the
On the
water.
most exposed, that's the side you have to measure from, is that correct? So you measure from the ground to the peak, and according to the rules, it can't be more than 20 feet.
Mhm.
But if there's a section of roof that's already 24 feet, it would seem to me they could go to the 24 feet because that fits the definition of
Yes.
existing.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So with an 812, what would that bring the peak to?
Okay, now you guys me to do math off the top of my head.
Yeah.
I'm out in my mind, I was just going back through some of the older truck properties I've seen that had basements and sub-basements and vaulted ceilings and went, oh my God, I
Well,
got 5 stories.
An 812 pitch is great to have around here if you can do it,
Oh, yeah.
but most of your homes are 5 pitch or 6 pitch.
Yeah.
Majority are gonna be in that realm.
Couldn't
So-
go down to a 412 with a white steel roof, metal roof, snow jacks, white reflects heat, and within 24 hours,
Mm.
it's
So that 24 average is for the roof that's showing the new roof. The
Okay,
24
but is
is
it to the
average.
peak? From the ground to the peak?
I
Is
don't
it-
know what the
I
peak
think that's
is
average from.
on the old house. She said it had a flat roof.
If it had a flat roof, yeah.
Yeah, it
This
would-
average is for this new roof.
that would be average, I think, for 24, and at the back side was 20 feet 6 from grade, from ground.
Oh, I see what you're saying, Rod. I get it. Okay. Yeah, I get it.
No, well, it's pretty clear in the ordinance. So it says max height may not be greater than 20 feet or the height of the existing structure, whichever is greater. If you're within 75 feet of the normal high water line. So,
Yeah, I don't think my husband would want half of it, but pitched and half flat part.
no, probably not.
No, because that would flat and then it would run to the lake, right? He wouldn't like that.
Okay, so where are we in this?
I know.
We can't change. We
I don't,
can't,
Yeah,
We need a-
ZBA is
we have-
probably the only way to go.
do we need a vote or anything, or
Probably should.
well, how do we have there are no alternate ways of doing that, getting that height that they're asking for.
All you're looking for is a pitched roof to shed the ice and snow.
So what if it's a daylight basement at this point? But if you fill the front of the foundation side facing the lake on the steep side, if you fill that and just leave enough opening for the door, would that suffice to say that reduces the pitch by 7 feet?
Because you have a full low ground.
You're within 75 feet of the water, you can't fill in anything. You can't touch that, you can't touch the ground.
Well, they're gonna dig to put a foundation in, so they're gonna dig a hole. So what they're saying is they would be moving some of the dirt from the front out of the way to have a daylight basement. If you left the dirt there except for the entryway, would that change what the peak is actually at?
Yep, you're right, the one goes, the topography goes straight across front to back. Walk out the front door, straight through, out the back door.
I still think you'd have to go from a low spot, Bill.
Okay, I'm not disagreeing.
Right.
I just brought it up to discuss.
I think you would have, where it's an existing structure, you still have to measure from the existing structure. Right? I mean, you're not raising the house. The house is staying at the same level.
Posted piers.
It was open.
So you could probably guess that it's probably an 8.5 feet height
Maybe,
above grade.
possibly could be 3 feet.
So if you went down foundation 7 feet and 8 feet's 15 feet, that means you could go up roughly 5.5 feet to keep under the 20-foot limit. What would that give you for a pitch? How wide is the building?
30.
30 by 30.
It's 30.
So let's call it 8-foot basement, 8-foot leg, you're at 16 feet, you got 4 feet, so you are at, oh, by dirt, this is a 312 pitch.
Does the height include the basement?
Actually, it's not.
Yeah, it's got it right for runoff.
If you look at a lot of
Probably
your
shouldn't.
Should be above
pre-engineered
ground.
metal buildings going through,
Oh, yeah, it's not flat.
those are typically 4.5, 12 pitch. A very steep one is a 612 pitch, which you don't want to try to walk on and slide off.
Yeah.
412 metal roof, that would slide off, especially if you have white column, and they make architectural designs now. It's about 16 feet, so that would give you 4 feet.
Do we need a vote here? I mean, if you want to go to the, if they want to, if you want to go to the ZBA, which is certainly your right to do so, it looks to me like we should
That's a 3.5, 12 pitch.
we should vote that either we can do something or we can't, and then let the applicant decide what they want to
They
do.
can't go to the ZBA without a denial.
Right, so that's what I'm saying. Seems like we ought to, seems like we ought to vote to deny your request, because I don't see your request meets the requirements of the ordinance. It's nothing personal.
No, yeah,
But I mean, it does or it doesn't. It doesn't look like it does, so.
yeah,
There's
that's why
some-
we're here.
Unless someone else has something else they want to add, I would suggest that we take a vote on this. Are you ready to do that, or?
And,
Wait a little.
but the 3
3.5, 12.
12 would work.
That's just down and dirty math through an 8-foot
Right.
basement, 8-foot first. That's roughly 4 feet to get you to the 20-foot height.
Right, might work.
Yeah. But that basement, now, if we raise it up the 4 feet, because the median was 24 feet, which would give you a little bit more play from your architect to be able to.
Yeah, this
sit
one
there-
says 25, but that's 250 feet.
Yeah,
To be able to sit there and
less
go.
than 75, it says.
Is that for this?
Right. it
I
does. I was just-
I think she's out of look, I mean, I don't.
Or just redo the-
No, that's to get the median rate that they're talking about.
Yep.
I was just going off on basement.
Yeah.
Walkout basement.
I'd like to make a motion that the planning board deny the request for, well, actually, I would say a variance from the ordinance, the shoreline zoning ordinance, specifically with respect to the 20-foot height requirement.
Second.
Any more discussion? All in favor of denying?
I
Right.
This way, if you want to go to the ZBA, this would allow you to do so unless maybe there's some other way to figure it out. Kelly's available after the meeting to discuss it further.
I was in the industry for 20 years.
And my next steps, if we didn't
Can you
appeal, we just need to redo the plan
Right, and then I would think that that would go to Brenda for,
approval.
yeah, for approval.
I would sharpen my pencil on your measurement of the height of the basement and the height of the original existing roof to see where you come at. You might find that they can work something to make it fit.
Okay, thank you.
So essentially,
Sorry.
No, we understand. No, we understand. We weren't, like I said, I'm not here to get mad at you, and I like to follow the rules too, so this is part of the rules, you know?
compliance, right?
Yes,
It's painful, but
it's all part of the rules. So we
It
just-
is.
Thank you.
okay,
Thank you, have a
If
good evening.
anybody thinks of anything different, please let her know, and she'll let me know.
we'll do that.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I'll talk to you.
I worked all
Is that good? Yeah, like in a couple days after everything is all done. Thanks, guys. Good night. We'll see you later.
Thank you.
Now the Roy family,
It's Kevin on
Kevin.
Zoom.
Oh, yeah.
okay, we all went on a site walk.
Can you hear us, Kevin?
Present here on a Zoom call.
Yes.
Yeah, we can hear you fine. Can you hear us?
Yep.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
So Kevin, I got a question for you. 'Cause I see where you wrote your letter here. It says our purpose is to add storage, a game room, full bath, with a small kitchen that includes a fridge, gas stove, sink, the stackable washer and dryer. Are you making an apartment under that?
No, I think the intent is to use it as more livable space as kind of the family grows. I mean, this camp's been in our family for 60 or so years, so as we kind of grow and get bigger, it'd be nice to have more of us there at the same time using the space. So I think originally, the idea between my uncle and I, who were kind of co-trustees, was to put in 2 beds, full bath, with laundry, and kind of a front room that was also a walkout. That was kind of the original hope, but that's why we're here to see what's feasible.
So would this be an additional kitchen, or you have a kitchen already in there?
There is, yeah, there's a kitchen on the main floor. I think this is more of like a kitchenette, just like maybe a wet bar.
Mhm.
My uncle wrote that letter and kind of sent it, so I didn't really get a chance to proofread it.
Not uncommon. Camp kitchen, daylight kitchen, summer kitchen. We see them all the time. That way it prevents people from tracking up to the main house if they have a barbecue by the lake.
Yeah, there's no restriction on that? I
That's
don't
not
know
the code. All he's approaching us for is to
Right.
raise the existing structure, put a full basement underneath. Not moving it left, right, front, back.
Now, where they're putting the kitchen in, is this gonna make it living space?
What I could do
Well, they're
when I
finishing
wrote the permit is specifically say, space not to be rented or something to that effect.
Right, but I guess my question is, where you're putting a kitchen in a game room, does it turn it into living space that goes past the 30%?
I believe that foundations, basement space doesn't go against your 30%, especially when they're not changing the footprint.
Right, but when we're talking basements, I'm thinking an unfinished basement. I mean, when you finish the basement off, it makes it kind of a living space.
Right, I don't think it counts against you. I don't think it counts for you or against you. So if you had living space existing in your foundation, you couldn't use 30% of that for an expansion. So I believe it doesn't count against you or for you.
Okay.
Makes sense.
Don't we need a more clear diagram of the property than what we have right now? Something old and got.
This,
Right, we had requested a survey with things laid out, setbacks.
yeah,
Septic location, well location, standard survey.
Right.
Location of every major tree over 6 inches. The concern was that large tree in front,
That's right.
most likely have to come out due to the excavation.
You're right, we have absolutely nothing with setbacks.
Exactly. You know, we took a rough measurement of I think it was 18 feet from the road.
right.
We don't know where the road edge was. First off, it was winter time, covered with snow, and we had no survey pins or flags to go off on.
Were you planning on doing that, Kevin?
Yes, but I think there must have been some misunderstanding where it was unclear whether we needed it for the meeting tonight or before we get approval for a permit. So if that's something that we need to submit before we go any further, that's certainly something we can do. I believe actually, our neighbors on either side just had their properties surveyed as well, so I can see if it's possible or appropriate, I can see if we can get some info from them, or if we need to do something independent of both of those projects, we certainly can.
Yeah, because we'll need to know where your well is, where your septic is, where the setback lines are, where from the sides, the road, and the water frontage.
I think generally what I would be looking for is if you made a motion that the relocation of the building couldn't be any closer to the water than the nearest point of the existing building, you could keep it that generic. Then what would happen is I would want a certified plot plan like Kelly had been talking about, and I would want the foundation pin. So that would hold them up exactly. That's generally how I do it, but it's however you want to do it that matters.
That's a good idea, really. I mean, that would take it, because that's really what we're supposed to be deciding anyway. After that, it's up to you to make sure they meet the code.
Right.
And you're gonna need that plot plan, obviously. But he doesn't have to have it. I don't see necessarily that we have to have it at this time. If we
We've been
just,
requiring it from many, especially in shoreline zoning. Last thing we wanted them to come after us and say, well, why didn't you they take this tree out, why didn't you make them move it back 4 feet? Tree most likely gonna come down, is it feasible to move it back since it's gonna be full excavation and foundation?
And we know that the septic is on the left-hand side as you're
Right. Yeah.
facing it from the road. We know that, but I mean, you did say, gee, you wonder if it could be moved back and over.
Because it is a double lot.
I mean, they're going to need the certified plot plan to build anyway.
correct.
So if you had one that actually showed the building envelope,
Mhm.
and that might help you decide whether you want it to be relocated or not. I mean, that makes sense too.
I would really like to have a plot plan. That's,
Actually, the application that we've been using lately is the, for general and commercial uses.
Mhm.
And there is one, I found an existing one in my historical documents. But it's a planning board permit application for shoreline zoning uses, and it does list the requirements here.
Oh, good.
So, lot dimensions and I can hand this out to you. I'm sure you have a
I think
template.
Julie and I found that, and we thought it was really, it would be a good resource. So
You did find it, there's a template, yeah. That, yeah, erosion control methods, areas of fill grading, all of, it lists all the items that
It's more
need to be.
definitive.
Right,
That's good.
so that might be better for them. They'll know what to provide us.
So do we want the plot plan before we go further?
Some sort of diagram.
Yeah.
That's, I think it's.
Sue?
that's-
Yeah,
that's-
Bill?
I think we need more documentation.
They'd say.
You want to take a vote?
Well, I make a motion that we'll table this until we have a plot plan then.
Second.
Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Does that make sense to you, Kevin?
Sure, it sounds like, I'm sorry, I couldn't quite hear all that, but it does sound like you've got a document that we can use that kind of lays that out, like a template you were talking about.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's possible to get that, whatever it is that you are looking for specifically, is it possible to get that in your email so that we can kind of check all our boxes?
So
Or do I need to come to town hall and pick it up?
Oh, I don't
we
think
can
so.
email it to you, Kevin.
Did you hear that, Kevin?
In and out, my wife's trying to put our son to bed, so.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
No, Brenda just said that we can email that to you. There's no reason for you to come down from, I think you're in Gray?
Yeah, yep, a little bit right.
Yeah, there's no reason for you to come down for that. I mean, it seems like we could email that and then you could go forth and do good things and come back when you have the data.
Okay, and then just general survey crew coming out and taking care of that, is that what we need to contact?
We just need just the certified plot plan. We don't need a full-blown survey.
Okay,
Just certified plot plan showing the building envelope and the setbacks on
Setbacks.
that.
yeah,
Mhm.
Yeah,
How about the location of septic or not? Does that need to be?
I think it generally shows that.
Yeah, okay.
Supposed to show rights of
Okay.
way, abutting rights of way, names of abutting property owners, exact location of existing and proposed buildings, including dimensions and distance of each from nearest lot lines and distance from the high water mark, location of sewage disposal, areas to be cleared, if applicable, erosion control methods and landscaping plans, if applicable, areas of fill, grading, cut or other earth-moving activities, test pit locations if applicable, and lot dimensions.
Maybe Julie could send that
Yep.
to Kevin, and then once you get it, you can look at it and see if you have questions, you could call and talk to Brenda about it.
So,
Sure, wonderful.
I'm sorry. So going forward, is the board looking for that form instead of conditional use form when it's the best practical location?
I think it would be better.
It's more definitive,
Yes.
more definitive.
We can do that.
Yeah, and that way, we don't want to delay your project. I mean, you want to get going on this, but if we need to get the information so that it can be officially turned over to the code enforcement officer, and then she'll go forth with you guys.
Yeah, no, we'll get it to you as soon as possible, thank you.
All right.
I think everyone's satisfied.
Yep.
Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you,
Have a good evening.
thank you, you too. Good luck.
And, I went and looked up, when you asked the question, I spoke off the top of my head. But, on page 6,
Are you in Shoreline?
Julian?
yeah, sure, yeah. On page 6, it talks about, especially under section C-1, it talks about 30% of the footprint. So I believe that's what we're looking at. So, you see what I'm saying?
Yep.
So putting living space in the basement doesn't change the footprint.
Right. Okay.
Right.
I just wanted to ask.
I want to make sure I was answering correctly too. Thank you,
Derek,
Kevin.
Derek Green?
Wasn't able to make contact with Derek. I will reach out to him again
Okay,
and see if he wants to pursue this.
all right. So Steve Austin, that's you?
Can she come up and hand?
Oh, yeah.
Sure.
Do whatever you want to do. Do you want to use this little podium or not?
I will definitely.
whatever you're comfortable with.
Okay,
This doesn't really fit in the folder.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Thank you.
Why don't you get a whole package here? Thank you.
And you have a copy of that? Yes.
yeah,
Just so we can keep everything up. Thank you so much.
and you have, and you have the other one for Brenda too. remember?
It's okay, as long as you have. Oh, okay.
Well, I didn't know if we were doing more now.
It wasn't all in one. That's fine. It's just that she gets it as a file, that's okay.
Yep, okay, yep, that was good. Yep.
It might be in there.
Okay. So I'm Stephen Austin, this is my wife Marcia.
Okay.
We
Nice to see
currently reside in Berwick, Maine.
Mhm.
We aspire to be residents of Lyman.
Good.
I didn't know it was such an exclusive club.
It's not. Wait a minute, we live here, how can it be exclusive?
Well, let me explain, okay. So, and I started this way back, over a year ago. And, I started talking to Patty about doing, transitioning over up here. And one of the requirements was, for the septic system to be upgraded because unfortunately, when they put it in 2000, it was coded as seasonal.
Oh,
And if somebody had said, hey, you should probably, I don't think there would have been a huge difference.
yeah,
I mean, it has a 1,000-gallon tank. It has a hi-hat pump because it pumps it way up by my garage. And all. So let me back up. It's 119 Shore Road, and you guys went on a field trip by there recently, right? Okay,
Yes,
so,
right.
yeah, we've been living down there.
yeah, okay. I went by there, okay, a lot going on up there. So, basically, yeah, it is the gate and then the accessory building. I'm getting these terms down now, I think what to call it. And then after that, you see a plow area. You see a sign that says, plow area. That's what the town plows into on my property so they can turn their big truck around. Just so you have a layout of land.
Yep, that's exactly where it is.
Okay, and you see where it's called a garage on your plan. That's the big plan,
On here,
not that one, but
this one.
this one.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That's a different one, so we'll get into that afterwards.
Right
So,
over here.
and then you see where the gate is. And then you see there's a pin right by the gate or further up from the gate. It's 35 feet from my gate out to where my property line is really. So just as a point of reference, some people go, oh, no. Because the plow truck actually plows in that area and then backs in front of my gate.
Mhm.
Turn around, so I say, well, they turn around the property. No, there's a gate there. No, it's 35 feet out there beyond that. So, okay, I'm gonna start that, I started talking to Patty about this. And one of the requirements was to do the septic system. And when I had them come over and look at it, it was deemed that that wasn't a good area. It wasn't a good area when it was put in to begin with.
Hmm.
The reason that it was put in that way was because gentleman who laid it out went to the neighbors about wells. And so on one side, he said, oh yeah, I got a well here. Well, he got his water off the lake. And he had towels there, but he had never used it. And
Oh,
he's, oh, well, I thought someday I'd get it going again. So anyway, it was put in up there, and so it has frozen up a couple of times, and it's, since 2000, so it's probably time to, do it someplace else. So, I talked to Patty about it. And I'm gonna get names wrong, sorry, I've already done it, and I'm gonna do it again. So I had her come over, and I'm going to, she's not here, but her emails are, okay? So, I got your voicemail, I'm working from home today, and we close at 12. How many trees are you moving? Because I'm getting ready to redo this. And, then the trees and all. And he says, if you want me to come over and take a look, I can do that one day next week at your convenience. And I said to her, yes, I would like you to come out over and also go over the building as it applies to what I want to do. And what I wanted to do is right next to my garage, put in a dwelling up there, okay? And so then she came and looked at the area up there, and then basically the area that I wanted to put it, that she was saying that because of the lot size, that I couldn't put another unit on there.
mhm.
This was in March. Okay,
March of last year.
so let's see what that is. But she said, well, what do you really want to do? And I said, all we want to do is we want to move up here. We want a footprint that is comfortable for us to live in and all, because the camp is a great camp, but it's really, and it is year round, but it's really not set up to be a, residence. And she's, so she went over all the, what I wanted to do. And she says, oh, well, you can do that. She says, all you have to do is have it attached to the existing building. And then you can do that. And so obviously in March, she did not know about accessory dwelling units. Does that sound about right? I don't know when you all knew about them.
As far as I know, accessory dwelling units are not in our shoreland ordinance.
No, it says they must be allowed everywhere that you allow a single dwelling. Is that correct?
That's the LD 2023.
Oh, that's a new one.
Which is,
Ah.
We haven't adopted it, in which, from what we understand,
Oh.
we as a municipality must decide on areas that are designated as low income rent control or otherwise affordable housing.
and shoreland may have different rules.
And our zoning is an inclusive zoning, so unless it's specifically included in the zone, it is excluded.
I guess I would disagree with that based on what I read.
Oh, okay. Where are you? Are you in the ordinance?
I am in the accessory
Oh.
dwelling unit of the,
Oh, okay. Is that state law you're reading?
Is that,
yes, state law.
Okay.
State law states at least one accessory dwelling unit must be allowed on any lot where a single-family dwelling unit is the primary structure. And that was in 2021.
And I think that's in our regular ordinance. But I don't know about shoreline.
Not shoreline.
So,
It also, state also requires you have 2,000 square feet for a septic system for each dwelling unit.
Page 40.
yeah, well, we're not getting there, okay? We're not going there, okay?
Yeah, that in
Two.
ADUs are restricted, I believe, to 600 square feet.
I
650
don't,
square
I
feet,
am
yeah.
not coming to you for an ADU.
Okay.
Okay,
We are the only ones that are going to live in this unit that we're gonna put on, okay? It will be attached to the building per Patty said, oh yeah, you can do everything that you want. And she said, yes, you can have 2 kitchens and more like what you described, because the other one would just be the seasonal when people are up there. And the rest of it would be just as you described. She said the bedrooms are the only limitation.
Mhm.
I hope she's right, but then she was wrong about the accessory dwelling unit up on the top. I believe that the way I read it, what do you think, Brenda? Is that what you read, that it has to be allowed? I don't know. Well, okay, let me back up. You were going to allow it, right?
I was what?
No, you were, where is that sheet that we went through? Not,
I had understood that you can do an ADU in shoreline if it was outside of the 75 feet.
and I totally,
Am I wrong? Is that?
I don't know that's even, is ADU covered in shoreline? That's the first, I mean, what's your, our regular ordinance, our regular zoning ordinance has a discussion on accessory dwelling units. It's on page 40. And that gives some details, et cetera.
but don't you have to go by state law?
Wait, hold on.
Sorry.
Hold on. No, that's all right, but I'm just saying, our regular ordinance covers that. Shoreland, we need to see if, I'm not sure there's anything in shoreland about accessory dwelling units. Now, maybe there is, and maybe I'm just not familiar with it.
But, okay, so
But
let
the
me,
only thing about the LD 2003, the new law, is that, yes, it passed the legislature, but we have not seen implementing instructions for
Okay.
towns yet. And so I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think any towns have gone forth and implemented that.
Oh.
It's supposed to go into effect July 1st, is my understanding, but we don't have the details as to what the requirements are, especially in towns that don't have public water and sewer.
okay,
So it's not that we're trying to hold anything up, it's
it's
just, that-
kind of, okay, it's kind of irrelevant, because I don't want to put in that, okay? So I don't want one right now, okay? Wasn't the intent, okay?
you don't want what?
I do not want an ADU.
Oh, okay,
Okay.
okay.
But
okay.
that is what you're asking for.
I'm asking to put an addition on the camp
Oh,
now, okay?
With
Okay.
2 kitchens, 2 bedrooms, 2 baths, separate independent access, 1 step below duplex.
I would-
What's to prevent you later on cutting off, insulating year round and going, now I'm gonna condominiumize this?
Well, number one is, it's in a trust, okay, so that's
Trust
one
can be
thing.
revoked.
Well, okay.
I'm
no,
just
I'm
playing
not.
devil's advocate.
No, I'm just saying, so any provisions that, what I heard about restricting that it can't be rented, I'm fine with that restriction because under the circumstances, there's no way that we can rent that unit. My parents bought this off Arthur Roberts, original, bought it off them. Little history, they bought 2 lots. They paid $15 a month till they had it paid off.
that was a while ago, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
So how far back from the water as you can?
Okay, so we're gonna get into that now, okay. So then, our camp was down closer to the water and all, and, we wanted to put a foundation under it. And so, let me get to it here. I'm not seeing my copy in there. No, that's a quick thing. Okay, you have a copy in yours from so you should see a copy in your thing from the state and all. Right there. Okay. Could I just borrow your
Sure.
copy just for a second? So, we went, the building was closer to the water, okay? And all, and we wanted to put a foundation under it. And so went to the board about putting a foundation under it. And they did not want the foundation put under it where it was.
You have to push it back.
Oh, this is back in 2000, February 2nd, 2000.
Oh, right there. There we go.
Okay.
Thank you.
And so went in front of the board and they wanted it moved back. And they came over and did a site review.
Mhm.
And then they decided where they wanted to see it put on the property. And they used what is in the shoreline zoning that it mentions about the criteria you should use about it. And one of them is 75 feet, but there's also things like erosion. There's a whole section. I'm sure that you're aware of that section and all. So they determined, and there was, and it was, within their discretion to do that. And that one of the issues was a big maple tree, and so they decided 50 feet was just where it needed to be put back. And so that's what we did, okay? And they had some conditions in there, and as I said, things were different. And one of the conditions was that we put in a retaining wall. And so we put in a retaining wall, so you can see it on the Prince retaining wall. That's just, okay, so that's the retaining wall.
So Brenda, I have a question for you. If the front of that building is 50 feet from the water and he's putting this on the back, that should be past 75 feet.
Well, yeah,
It isn't.
it's complicated.
So, well, the other question I have, let me finish.
Yep.
Because he's building a whole nother building, this actually makes us into a duplex. As Kelly says, whether they separate it or not, to me, that's a duplex.
Which is not.
And I don't think this lot can support two buildings.
I see what you're saying. And to answer your first question, I don't know if it's the next lot or the lot next to that has quite an inlet. And you gotta go from there and
Right.
not from the
Right.
next point.
And that was discovered by Brenda when, because I had the two surveys. One was a plot plan that I had done, and then my neighbor, because we were having a boundary discussion, I'll put it that way, they had a survey done. So when you look at that, and I brought I brought that into you, right, Brenda? That, like this kind of thing. And she-
I'm not sure, we've had so many papers. going
So
back.
that will open up a whole new problem then, because we can't make it more non-conforming.
Well, oh, no, I get that, okay, I get that, okay. So, the provisions were, no closer than 50 feet is what you have written.
Yeah, I see those, but that's, you want to build something new.
Most of it is gonna be outside the 75 feet,
I don't
okay?
think that's what that means.
So most of it is gonna be outside the 75 feet. The only condition
that
is that no closer to the water.
If that is, she's
A
5 feet
portion
from
of
the
that,
water.
I would like to use what is stated that you can do to
I've seen that.
put in what I want to put in. And we're not talking a lot.
But it's still making it more non-conforming.
No, it's not, no.
If that's within the 75 feet, it's
But it
making it
says-
non-conforming.
Now, Bill, you said you would have been involved in 3 of these? You said you've been involved in 3 of these?
Mm-hmm.
Right. So, if I'm not going any closer to the water, I'm not making it not more non-conforming.
Yes, you are.
Yes, you're building something there where it's non-conforming because you're within the 75 feet of the water.
But it says that you're allowed to do like the 30% expansion?
You've already done one expansion too, you've got to count that.
I think we need to look at, page 36 of.
On your plan,
Zoning.
HWL, is that the high water line?
Okay, no, okay. That's a little confusing. That is the plan
What are we looking at?
high
Kelly?
water land. So
More in particular,
that
actually,
was
page
when they,
37,
they did the original, Arthur Roberts did it.
but we also
They,
gotta go.
it was
with
just a
the first
plan,
one, which
high water.
100,
So
within,
surveyors
100
can't
floodplain.
determine what the high water mark is.
Hold
They
the
can
phone
say
here.
what a plan
We got
is.
too many conversations going on.
They can
You
say-
hold up for a minute?
Oh,
Yeah,
sure. Oh,
Let's,
sorry.
let's keep focused on, we got
Oh, yeah,
conversation here,
right,
conversation, let's keep this in one, so I understand what's going on.
section 16 shoreline zoning, special exemptions. There's a number of criteria. You're asking for a special exemption. You would need to meet all the criteria in section 16 to even be considered. And one of the things I noticed right off the bat is that total footprint, including cantilevers and other similar overhanging extensions of all principal and accessory structures, is limited to a maximum of 1,500 square feet. You're looking 1,580. You're looking at putting on a 986 square foot addition where that is almost double the size of the existing structure, and you're proposing that as an ADU. We have an ADU. Call it what you want, it's an ADU, it's an accessory dwelling building that you are making primary to the current existing development. Improvements.
All I can go by is, my frustration is that I was told that I couldn't have an ADU. Well, no, she never said that. She just said that the lot requirement would prohibit me from putting in another unit. Now, the state regulation, which was 2021, says that you have to allow it in any place that there is, that you allow single family dwellings. And that passed in 2021. Okay, so I don't know how you cannot allow that, but I guess I disagree with you in what you're telling me is because of what Patty told me, okay? So I know Patty's not here, but I have all the documentation.
And that's fine, but you're within the 75-foot setback. We can't make that more non-conforming.
And it's not gonna be more, it's
It
gonna
is
be.
gonna be more non-conforming, because you're gonna be building more stuff there.
We can read the definition.
Okay,
What?
so if
For you.
it says that, I can take a building and I can add on to it 30%. And not,
Depending on where it's located,
but not going close to the water, right?
depending on where it's located.
Okay, and so what's the
A
potential?
percentage of that stays right on that 75.
Come on.
57. Go ahead.
Let him finish, let him finish. I'm trying to get, you've got too many conversations going on. here. Let's calm it down a little bit. I
Okay,
mean,
yeah, right. okay.
yeah, I mean, let's just sort of go through this and, well, I mean, I think obviously the planning board wants to do the correct thing here, but within our rules, and the only other thing I still will mention is that this LD 2003, which was passed by the state, but to my knowledge, they have not come out with implementing instructions, especially applicable to smaller towns. So that's an issue that we have to get resolved at some time, but
Okay.
you know, I think you're sort of rambling along here. If you could just sort of make your presentation,
No,
then we can
right,
decide
well, I
where to
think that
go.
there's some issues here, okay? So if it's an ADU, then I think Brenda will agree with me, you couldn't do that. Because of the 75-foot setback, there'd be no issue that you couldn't do that, okay? Whatsoever. Is that-
You can never do that.
No.
Yeah, and if I
Right,
can-
because, okay,
If I can read it, continue on from section 16P, subsection 5, page 37. All structures except functionally water-dependent structures are set back from the normal high water line of a water body, tributary stream, or upland edge of a wetland to the greatest practical extent, but not less than 100 feet horizontal distance. In determining the greatest practical extent, the planning board shall consider the depth of the lot, the slope of the land, the potential for soil erosion, type and amount of vegetation to be removed from the proposed building site, evaluation in regard to the floodplain and its proximity to the moderate value or high value wetlands. So we also got to take into consideration 100-year floodplain and that setback. And that's to receive a special exception.
What page do you want, Kelly? I'm sorry.
37, shoreline zoning.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, because I read, a municipality may wish to adopt a more stringent ordinance or an ordinance different from the guidelines. This is acceptable as long as the ordinance is equally or more effective in achieving the purpose of the shoreline. So,
Where are you,
can I-
sorry, where are you reading from, please?
It was out of the state shoreline
Oh,
zone.
next.
Okay, thank you. I just want to make sure. I understand what you're reading from. Thank you.
Okay,
So-
so can we just get back to the 30% expansion?
Has this been expanded?
I don't believe that.
You don't know?
Not
does.
in the.
That's what this
Oh,
permit says.
Okay.
That's what this was, the
There is a-
expansion.
Yeah,
There is, it went from a what size bathroom?
4x5 to a 6x8 addition.
Right. So, but it says, and I don't have the, it doesn't limit it just because I did one expansion. I can't,
It's one expansion over the lifetime of the building, I believe.
Mhm.
It's not an expansion for every owner.
Right, it's not an expansion from every
I have
instance.
understood it's a total of 30% over the lifetime. So if
Yes.
it was 10% this year, they
Right.
have another 20% coming to them at some point.
right.
Okay.
And that's what I saw.
That diagram we've been talking about, we really need to get, will visually explain how much you can expand within a certain distance from the water line. If you are close to the 75%, you've already done an expansion, you're done. If you are split in half and half, part that's outside the 75%, you can expand 30%, if I'm not
You're
mistaken.
talking 75 feet, outside 75 feet.
Yeah, then outside 75 feet, you're fine.
As long as you're within 20% of the lot coverage. Right, you can't,
Oh, yeah, right. Let me get to, yeah, let me get
But I
to
don't believe that you can build an accessory use within the setting.
no, you can't even
No.
put an accessory building without meeting requirements,
Right. And
which is not a dwelling unit.
what we call an ADU, I thought you build as long as you want to do the 75. Because it does talk about accessory uses to the principal use.
Right.
Which in my mind, may be you, but I think it's interpretation, but definitely not within 75.
But I also believe it says in the ordinance that the lot has to be big enough to support 2 buildings,
Not for ADU.
not for ADUs.
The septic does, though.
I'm sorry.
The septic
No,
does.
that's the same.
Right.
And I think you need 2,000, is it 2,000 square feet per dwelling unit?
I think so.
So it'd be 4,000 square feet.
Not for ADUs, I don't think.
The thing is, there's one map that shows the house and the other doesn't. And to know where it is in relationship to the water line,
Yeah.
well, it's like, where is the place?
That's the house.
This is, so that's this house?
Yep.
Here.
One more time? I don't know. I'm confused. I don't know what we're doing here. I mean,
I think that's why they limit ADU to 600 square feet, because that's outside of the 20,000 square feet for residential unit. So that's why they restrict it the way they do. Property owner has to live on property, they only 600 square feet. It has a period, so that you can do an ADU outside of
I'm
that,
not sure what.
requirement, I believe was the intention.
Yeah. I mean, you could put it on top of the garage if you want, but it's too close proposed.
I could have put up right next to the garage, which was where I wanted to get it, put it to begin with, but I was denied by Patty because she specified the lot size. But on an ADU, there is no, you cannot, that's not one of the criteria. Yeah.
So would that building, new building, be 75 feet or more from the water line?
It's not a new building.
I didn't say anything about a new building. Whatever structure is intended to be built, is it more than 75 feet from the water line?
It's an addition.
Yes. If an addition, is it more than 75 feet from the water line?
No, portions of it will, but the other portion would be available itself of the 30%.
Yeah, but the 30% doesn't apply until you're back 75 feet. So you have to be more than 75 feet back from the water line.
I don't believe that's true because that is the reason it says that you can expand the building.
So
Up to
first of all, we
30%.
need to know how much this building's been expanded already
Okay,
from its original.
okay,
Size.
so on there, it said that there was an expansion from a 4 by. So it was a 20 square foot bathroom to a 48. I have all the calculations.
Go ahead, Brenda.
This one here.
Mr. Chairman, I
Well,
don't
actually-
believe that this falls within the 30%.
It's before it.
The 30% is if you're adding something to the principal structure.
Right.
If you're adding,
Here you go.
even if it's connected, even if it has a
See the
common
house
wall,
line here? That's
and
100
that used to
feet.
be the criteria, then they made it
This
so
is the
that
expansion,
there's 2 other
but
ways
you
to
can
do it.
add the deck
But-
across because it's not living space.
You can't do an ADU as part of the 30% expansion. It's a different use.
I'm $30,000 into this project. It's been over a year, and I was going directly by what Patty told me. I wish I had got her to grant me a permit, and I guess we wouldn't be dealing with this, okay? Because and all. I didn't do that just because I wanted to get everything, I wanted to get my well in,
Right.
and the well had to go behind where the accessory, this addition is going, okay? Now, she said it was an addition, okay? And what do you want me to tell you? That's what she told me. And based on what she told me, that is why I proceeded for doing what I did. I put in the new leach field, and Brenda came and inspected it, so you saw where it is. brand new leach field, okay? I put in a well for the unit, because it was getting in. I've gone through all that. And I'm truly convinced that if, Patty was here, that would have gone through, okay?
But. He's got a question.
Go ahead, Del. Do you think it would be helpful if we, like we spoke with the previous applicant, to get a certified plot plan with the dimensions?
I can't.
So that we know where so we know what the distances from the water are?
This should be in our files.
No.
The plot plan that
No,
went
you
with this
have- you
decision,
have to-
that should be on file.
You have the plot plan that shows that.
The one for this
No, I don't.
expansion,
Huh?
the plot plan that shows this expansion, do you still have your documents from that? The expansion that was done in 2000.
Mr. Chair,
Yes,
it
Joe.
might be helpful as well for us to actually go on site and take a look.
I don't even know.
Well, I think it would too, because it just doesn't sound right to me.
The diagrams that we
Sorry.
have, for me, are a little bit conflicting.
Yeah, I can't.
Mhm.
And, you know, I see the camp at one location vis-à-vis the pond. I see it at a different location vis-à-vis the pond. Actually going on site, I think would be the best bet for us to get an appreciation for
Oh,
what you
I'd
have.
love for you to come over and look at it,
But,
okay?
Can I say something too? I
Go
mean,
ahead, Cecilia.
I think, first of all, we should determine whether an accessory dwelling unit is allowed in the shoreline zoning, because I am pretty sure that it is not.
I'm in agreement with.
It is not in our ordinance, and we have to go by our ordinance. And our ordinance is in line with the state. Now, these new rules that were passed in March still have not come down. Cities and towns are still working on ordinances and waiting for instructions from the state to update. But in the meantime, we have to go by our ordinance.
Passed in March. Passed the year before.
Right, but,
They don't take effect till next July. either.
right, that's
So-
right. They're not even in effect.
Okay, Brenda,
It says
can we
actually.
let Brenda speak, please?
Oh, sure, absolutely.
I believe LD 2023 specifically says that it's not meant to supersede shoreland or subdivision.
Yeah.
It's not meant to change the criteria for those two zones.
Right. I think,
That being said, I'll make a confession, I honestly believed that you could build an ADU in the shoreland, outside of the 75 or 100, whichever applies. And I think Patty thought that too, because she was going to go forward with that as long as they could come to a determination. I was all set to permit, to tell you the truth, I thought I could. If I can't, we need to talk about it. But when I saw that inlet on the other side of the other lot was gonna put him closer than 75 feet, I said, you cannot do it within 75 feet.
So,
And I believe that with all my heart. So I think we need to get on the same page.
Yeah, yeah.
On where I'm at.
those are two issues that are report that would determine whether he can move forward or not.
yeah, I totally agree because, I have all the emails, but Patty's not the sheriff in town anymore.
Okay, well, I mean, I'll just speak for myself on the plan. I don't think the planning board's not trying to hold this project up, but we're just trying to make sure that it meets the criteria that we have to go by.
Well, oh, absolutely.
And so, right now, you have spent money, you said you spent quite a bit of money on this, and that is, that's your prerogative to do so, and you've done that. So now the question is, I hope that money wasn't wasted, but we need to find out whether or not we can do this under the regulations. And if we can't, then we can't. If we can, we can. But that's the deal.
I absolutely agree that you and Brenda need to get on the same page to the beginning, okay? I can't go anywhere. I've been over a year working on this project.
Okay?
Good faith, did everything that Patty said that I should do, okay? Never said, geez, you need to go in front of the planning board or anything, okay? And so she said that, and I think Brenda said, but that used to be the way it is, but now it's not. That she said that what you're doing, okay, because we're not going to be living there.
Yeah.
It's just an addition, okay? That's all it is. It's like, in the wintertime, we'll probably spend most of our time in that portion of it. But in the summertime, we probably spend it in the other section. But at no time did we ever plan on it being a duplex so somebody else could live there. And you could write any restrictions that you want. I'm fine with that. Because it's a family camp and it's all, that's, you know, and my parents' dying wish was that it remain in the family. Okay. And so, but, you know, I'm just sorry that I spent $30,000. I did it in good faith for what I was told by the code enforcement officer at the time. Okay. But I think that I agree with you, you know, you guys need to get on the same page because when I was talking to Brenda about it and we went over this and at the time, we hadn't discovered the 75-foot issue. Okay. So here's what I had drawn and here's where she had marked it up. Okay. And so now you're telling me that you can't have an accessory dwelling unit in the shore zone where she was going to allow it, okay? Not the 75-foot, okay? So my contention is, from what I was told by Patty, and if she told me wrong, you know, she told me that as long as it was attached to the building, she says, no, you can have 2 kitchens if you wanted. The restrictions would be down to the bedrooms, number of bedrooms for the unit. Okay, so that's the only, she said, other than that, they don't care what you have, you call your rooms.
Okay, can Brenda,
Okay, there's 2 points I'd like to make.
Yeah.
I think the first week maybe, about, that I worked here, I was called to do an inspection for this septic system. He was doing a seasonal conversion. And he put it on, a lot of times they can write a seasonal conversion based on the existing septic, but he put in a brand new one. And I went and inspected it, not knowing that there was going to be an addition, because this septic system specifically says single family dwelling unit is checked off. The multiple family dwelling unit is not. So I didn't know at that point about the ADU. Just a moment.
Can I just look at
No.
your copy here quickly?
Most of the time, what will happen, if it is a multifamily unit, it will say 3 bedrooms in the main house and 2 bedrooms in the second. So it doesn't say that. I don't believe it was written for multifamily. But even then, for an ADU, if someone came in and wanted to do an ADU outside the shoreline, and I would say, how many bedrooms do you have? And they would say 2. I'll pull their, right, and it will say it's written in 270 gallons. That's for 3 bedrooms, not 90 gallons per bedroom.
Okay.
So I would say, okay, you can do a 1-bedroom unit, okay? So that didn't happen here. But Mr. Austin, from day one, he even brought me in paperwork because he said an ADU has to be attached to the house. And I said, no, it doesn't.
It used to be.
It used to be.
That,
It
and
used
that
to be.
changed.
And so he called this an ADU from day one.
No, I didn't because I didn't even know the term ADU.
May I see the piece of paper you brought me that shows the definition of an ADU and that it doesn't have to be?
And I didn't know, I said, what is an accessory dwelling unit? Because all I did was talk to Patty about it, I said, hey, you know, this is
So-
what I wanted to do. So
moving on from this, we can talk about ADUs all night.
What I would suggest is that I check with Brett.
Can you look at that? What do you see right
Well, I don't know, you won't let me.
Okay. Look at buildings.
Kelly?
It says proposed.
Page 13, shoreline zoning, land uses and shoreline zoning. Item number 15, principal uses and structures and uses, 1, 2,
Are we in shoreline zone, Kelly?
shoreline zoning. Page
the
13.
table.
And if we go over to resource protection, I just haven't seen the moment. Number 9, single-family residential structures may be allowed by special exception only according to the provisions of section 16E. Special exemptions to two-family residential structures are prohibited.
Where's that?
Where are you?
He's on page 14.
Oh, 14, okay, I'm sorry.
Then I go over to footnote number 9.
Oh, all right.
14, Kelly?
Very top of the page.
I must have a different. Allowed by s-
Two-family residential structures are prohibited. That's what it says.
Right,
And
Yes.
I agree with that, Ron.
But it's not a two-family.
Well, you can call it whatever you want. It's a two-family.
No, it's not. How is it a two-family?
2 kitchens, 2 baths, 2 bedrooms, separate loft entrances, joined by a common wall or.
With only
portico.
a single occupancy permit for the property. Okay, so there was no provisions for getting another permit for that property.
It's very common for people, especially in the shoreline, to come in and ask if they can put living space up over the garage. Because on a rain day, they need to get the kids out of there.
Right.
It's very, very common. So what I will do, I will let them put a bathroom. I will not let them put a kitchen. And they say, can I put a microwave? And I say, well, I'm not gonna come check whether you've got a microwave or not, but I can't let you build a kitchen.
Right.
So if this is an addition, then it can't have a kitchen. I'm sorry, because that does make it.
But even to make it an addition, we need to know how much this was expanded the first time. If it made us 30%,
That's true, but most of it is outside of the 75.
Right, and
There's
then,
only one little corner really that's within the 75. So that would be what would be subject to your 30%. Only that part of the building within 75 feet is.
And I really think it would be beneficial for you guys to do a site review. And in between that time, because Brenda hasn't been all the way down the property. She came over and she exposed the septic system. On the septic system design, it does show an addition. Now, back up a little bit. Patty approved that, and Brenda didn't approve it. You just took over for her.
Hmm.
Correct, on the septic system. I put in a permit with.
Yes, okay, yes. She processed it and went to the state.
Right, so she processed it. And on that, it shows the addition on there. Okay, so at that point, if there shouldn't have been an addition allowed or whatever, she would have questioned that in her mind. Okay,
Mr. Chair, just want to read from my definitions.
go ahead, Kelly.
Excuse me?
Go ahead.
Oh, okay, thank you. Definitions, regular zoning, page 70. Dwelling unit. A building designed and intended to be used exclusively for residential occupancy by one or more individuals living together containing living, cooking, eating, sleeping space, and sanitary facilities. Doesn't say kitchens, it says kitchen.
but you had just said a while before that, you said, well, it's common for people to have a kitchen and then another kitchen type unit because of the
And
people.
I clarify, I stated it is in the basement. Now,
So
we
you
have
can have it in
definition of a dwelling
You
unit.
can have it in the basement, but you can't have it in.
Wow.
Well, then if you're having it in the basement, then you gotta have egress windows and you gotta have full egress.
So, and the other thing I'm not seeing on either one of these maps are the setbacks and the setbacks from the water. I don't see the setbacks from where the water on the other side is going way in.
I think,
need the butters.
yeah,
I have this here, if you want to take a look, just what I made my decision on is why he's here. I took this is his property,
Yep.
right? I'm upside down. So
Okay,
I went to the next lot, you could see that's closer.
yep,
So we just did it, just measurement.
okay.
And so you would go 75 from this point.
Bring out the one.
And the 75 foot would be this line here too, this blue one?
Yes, so I follow the shoreline. You
Yep.
have to follow the shoreline.
Yes,
Right.
and we had to angle our addition
Exactly.
because at one point we were
Brenda.
74 and a half feet.
Look at this.
So our living room is like 1 and
Do you
8.
agree with that? Okay, so that's one point, another point, another point, and another point. Those are the ones that we come
Right.
up with.
But a certified plot plan would actually show that following the high water mark all the way across. And I think you and I determined that your addition was gonna fall within 75 feet.
And
And that's when I
a
said.
portion, and a portion of that wood, a very small portion, and in order to, but I guess we're at a point now that if you tell me that I can't put on, exactly what we had gone through and all, and Brenda tells me that I could do this, and then all of a sudden, all this stuff comes up, no, you can't do it. And where does that leave me?
I think what I'd like to do is possibly, I plan on doing it, is checking with the attorney and make sure that what I'm understanding. In my world, I don't see an ADU as the definition of, and we don't have a definition, unfortunately, it's on my list. Of an ADU.
One of the things, we hadn't made it official, because we ran into a definition decision before, but we hadn't made it official, is if we didn't have one, we would use the Appraisal Institute Dictionary of Real Estate Appraisal.
And do they have an ADU definition?
Well, yes, they
They
do.
just happen to have one, okay.
This is the latest from 27th edition. Accessory dwelling unit, ADU, a small self-contained dwelling typical with its own entrance, cooking, bathing facility that shares the site with a larger single-unit dwelling. An ADU may be attached or built in, such as a basement apartment, or detached, such as a backyard cottages. The owner of accessory dwelling unit is the same as the owner of the primary residence, sometimes called accessory apartments, accessory units, auxiliary units, carriage house, casta, garden suite, laneway house, secondary dwelling unit, or sidecar.
But it doesn't go on to say, does that require the same, like the 20,000 square feet? I thought that was outside of that. And that's what I'd like to know, is does that have to follow the same criteria as if someone built another residence, total residence? Because I know that, I was looking up that to build a second residence on the lot, I think you need half again the road frontage, and there's all kinds of
Yes.
criteria.
Right.
ADU doesn't require any of that.
Right.
So I don't think it falls under the 20% of the 20,000 square feet or the extra road frontage or anything like that. That's why it was giving its own specific criteria.
But the issue is whether you're within 75 feet, right?
And I felt like, because if you look at some, I've been looking at all the definitions, accessory use. And accessory use is any use that's subordinate to the primary. So does that mean an ADU? That's.
No, that wouldn't.
And it can't depart that much from the principal use. So I see that as an accessory use.
And the proposed is almost twice as big as primary residence. at this
Which-
point.
Well, when we figured out, believe it or not, there's 600 square feet, because you take out the bathroom, you take out any hallways, you take out closets. That's the law, believe it or not.
And you took out the closets, but take out a bathroom and you don't have a living space.
That's the law.
And I listened, it was frustrating to me, I listen to the YouTube videos all the time. And in your discussion about shore zone and, and all that, and I understood from everything that I heard in your talk and everything that the restriction on the size of the building is the 20%, the overall coverage is the the building, the driveway, any parking areas and all that. That's, and
That would be lot coverage.
But,
That's lot coverage.
That's not expansion.
right, but it's lot coverage, right, okay.
And I wasn't as concerned about the 20%. I think he felt comfortably within that. We looked at it just really quickly.
Oh, wait, yeah.
It was the 600 square feet, and we did figure that out. He was like right within like 4 or 5 feet of the 600 feet. So we fell within that. My problem was an addition to, I mean, you could say, okay, this will be a best practical location, you're gonna move the whole building. This could fall in the best practical location, correct?
Correct.
Because if anybody
Correct.
wants to do an expansion,
That's
that
right.
triggers best practical location.
Yes.
So you could even do that. I mean, if it's an ADU, it's not an addition. It's another use as far as, it may be a subordinate use, but it's another use.
So I guess right now that my hope and thoughts are, number one, that you would come look at it. Number two, that you would look through the ordinances and say specifically what prohibits you having two kitchens, one being primary and one being seasonal. Where is that in the ordinance that doesn't allow that? So that's because maybe Patty was wrong. And I never heard accessory units from Patty until I heard it from you. Because then you started talking about it, and then you're saying, well, it doesn't have to be attached.
Hmm.
And I go, Patty told me, what I had to do was I had to attach this to the building because she was looking at it as an addition to a building, okay?
So where's the board want to go from here?
I think we need a sidewalk.
Yes.
And some research.
And some research.
Boots on the ground is the best thing out there.
Absolutely, no, absolutely, I think you'll, when you come over, you will see, and Brenda's right, I mean, all these marks are what show up, and that was done by a surveyor. Okay, so that was done by a surveyor.
That
But
looks
it
like a
doesn't show
partial
the
plan
building.
though.
No, that is a full plan, and we have to.
Well, we haven't got it, so we don't see the surveyor's license.
Yep.
We don't see the setbacks, we don't see the building, the proposed
Yep.
improvements.
It's a survey, it's not a certified plot plan, so it doesn't show your building up. It
No.
doesn't show what you want.
No, well, wait a
We
minute.
have to get definition of survey plot plan, just flat plan versus.
Okay. So, on this survey was, done by Cornerstone, Landscape.
Corner post, yeah.
And it has a signature of Dana Libby, I believe,
Yep.
on the plan. So how is that not a?
I don't know. We haven't
As
seen
he
it.
just told you, we do not have that in our possession. We can't see it.
I will provide you this copy right now. How's that?
As I said, there should be one for each member plus.
Right.
file
That's a
and-
requirement for the application.
Yeah.
One for each member of the planning board.
Okay, I made the smaller ones because I thought
I
that
can't make it.
if you want to see the larger ones, that's perfectly fine with me. I can go down to Staples and get.
Yep.
I remember,
Copies don't have to be that big though.
No,
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 no.
no.
I'll be able to read it.
No, in fact, it'd be easier for us to read if it's a
Brenda
scale.
did that to one of those.
But it's a survey, it's not a certified plot plan. You want to know the building envelope.
Correct. We don't know how far back the building is from the water. I mean,
And it
we
doesn't-
should see the other 75-foot mark going across it.
Setbacks from your neighbors,
Setbacks, the wells.
Location, proposed expansion.
where your sewage is.
What we typically require for proposal.
So this is what Steve has here.
Okay.
I have two different ones, so that's one.
Right.
And
And it's
that's-
a survey, it's not a certified plot plan. I mean, you know what I mean, Kelly.
We work on slightly different definitions, which is why we have issues, which is why
Right,
you're talking about what I would typically call a plat plan versus a plot plan versus a survey.
right. Because this, is, I think, is what you're talking about, Steve. This is what you have. Or
No,
one like it, you said.
I'm talking about this one.
Okay, so we want to set a date for the site walk?
Yes, most definitely.
Not this Saturday, it's going to snow.
Well, not this Saturday, no, no,
Not this
no.
Saturday for sure.
So what
I have
what I'm
plans.
looking for is there will be another one to show where 75 feet is.
No.
Where 10 feet is, where 10 feet is. That's what they're going to do.
So which day is good for a site walk?
How about,
This weekend's
Yeah.
not good for me.
is,
No, I'm not
Yeah,
doing
it's
this
bad weather
weekend.
anyway.
Mr. Austin,
Excuse me?
is Saturday, March 11th, a good day for you?
Any day that you guys want to come over is fine for me.
Okay, how about,
I would only
Sure.
ask that sooner than better.
Well,
Pretty-
we have to post it on our bulletin board, et cetera.
I'm pretty upset about the whole
Well,
process.
I know, but
I think it's nice,
Yes.
10 o'clock?
how about 10 o'clock?
you know, when I do in good faith what everybody asked me to do and conform to everything that the code enforcement officer was telling me at the time. And now, and Brenda is telling me something, but then I don't know that you agree with Brenda.
Why don't we take this one step at a time? I mean, the only thing I would say is this. We can't redo the past. You've gone forth in good faith and you've spent some money, you've apparently relocated your septic system. So let's go through the process here and see if we can determine what the ordinance allows us to do. And then go on from there, but
Yeah, the main thing, the biggest thing that I would like somebody to explain to me is why Patty said that, I mean, you could, and you had said something, and you had said about the basement, I don't know what difference that would make. But it's, have a, so what are the, you know, what prohibits it being just a addition, okay? It's not going to be a multifamily,
okay.
and if you,
Well, look, we're not gonna solve this here. I think next step should be go forth, do the site walk, get all our information together. And then if, my opinion, I don't think other members feel this way, but if Brenda feels a need to contact and talk to the town attorney, I think she should do that to try to get it clarified to where we're going here. So, this way we can proceed, we all feel comfortable where we're going. And it's not, that anyone's trying to give you a hard time, and I'm sorry that there was a turnover in staff, but that happens. And we can't go backwards on this thing. We just have to go forward and see what the rules are and try to follow the rules. I mean, that's what we're all trying to do here. We're not trying to make some kind of arbitrary decision, but please understand also that the planning board doesn't have, I mean, if we got to sort of understand the rules here and make sure we all understand the rules and then go by those rules. If we don't have the ability to give a variance on rules. That's not in our purview. So what we have to understand where we are, I think doing a site walk would help quite a bit.
Right.
Getting a certified plot plan, I guess, is that the correct terminology?
Plot plan, yes.
Would be a good step, and then we can proceed and try to resolve this. But again, we're not trying to hold you up. But on the other hand, we can't say because you had verbal authority from a previous town employee, that enables it to go forward no matter what we say. We've got to follow the rules as they are. And that's what we're trying to do.
right, and so
I mean,
number one is, I really think that there has to be a clear definition of what is an addition. Okay? And because,
Okay, but anyhow,
So
well, let's go step by step here. Next step is the site plan, site walk. We have to,
well,
Yep.
we have to permit that, I mean, we have to announce that, publish it, and we'll do that on the date we said there, March 11th at 10 o'clock. We'll go to your property, and we'll proceed down the road and see if we can't get this defined. And meanwhile, Brendan can talk to the town attorney and get an opinion from him, and we'll see if we can't get this resolved so that we follow the ordinance and we don't, we're not supposed to go establish new rules. And the other thing is, there is an LD 2003, that's correct, but it has not been implemented in this town. I would suggest it hasn't been implemented in Berwick or any other town because we're still waiting for directions from the state. And that's just a fact. So we're all under the same problems there on that situation. So that's my 2 cents. Anyway, we got a site plan, a site walk here set up for,
and that's
The
fair
11th.
enough, but I still don't think the site plan is gonna do anything about coming up with whether what a addition to a property is.
maybe,
And the other thing that I understood.
Mr. Austin, we need to move on from this.
maybe talking to the attorney would
We will
would
go to
be
your site
good.
walk
Yeah.
and we'll go from there.
Go
Okay.
on.
Okay, thank you very much.
I think that's okay, sidewalk Saturday.
Okay, we had some proposed zoning
At this point-
ordinance changes.
Yeah, wait a minute. Yeah,
And I don't want to. Okay. Fair enough. I don't want to spend the money for one.
Okay, I was incorrect, not intentionally, but it happens a lot. But at the last meeting, I said that, anyway, bottom line is, we have a public hearing set up for March 15th at 6 o'clock. It's going to cover that proposed contract zoning change. And I was incorrect in my timing on that. So it has to be, we have to wait until March 15th to give us time to publish it in the newspaper twice, and Julie has done that. She's published in the Portland Press Herald twice. I've seen one of them, she has the dates down, and she also is doing it in the Reporter for, I think, 3 times.
Yeah.
and
awesome.
Specifying,
Buy 2 weeks, get 1 free.
yeah, so we got.
Awesome.
And I did notify the other thing I want to mention to you is I went to the select board meeting whenever it was, this past meeting they had.
21st. Last week.
Yeah, last week, and I told them, I said, okay, just so you know, the planning board has voted to proceed with the contract zoning change using the wording that the select board had previously agreed to. We're gonna have to do a public hearing, and the process is we do the public hearing, we see what public comments we get, and then we would presumably vote on that wording, or if there was a need to change the wording in some way, we would vote to change it. And then we'll follow our process there, and then we send that to the select board. Now, so basically, the select board's been notified, we're not pulling a fast one on them or anything. And this is under the existing charter. The new charter goes into effect July 1st for that change in zoning requirements. So this is legitimate as far as I'm concerned. I think what I'm saying is we're following the existing process. We're not violating any rules or anything, and blah, blah, blah. So we'll go down and see what kind of comments we get and then go on from there. Okay, however, just for information, the new ordinance refers to the general election in November for when you can put changes in. The general election.
The new charter.
In the new charter, yes. And general election is defined as a biennial election.
Yeah.
So that's every 2 years. And I also wrote this, not as a member of the planning board, but just as a concerned citizen. I gave them a letter and said, suggested that they might want to put this change to the revised charter they could put a change on the ballot in June if they cared to get rid of that word general. However, caveat, full disclosure, to make that effective, let's say they decide to put it on there. They don't have to, but let's say they do. You have to get 30%. You've got to get enough votes for or against based on the last gubernatorial election, which is extremely unlikely in June. So it may be an exercise in futility to put it on the vote. And I mentioned that we would like, on our contract one, I said, we want to put that on. That would be one issue, but that's a separate issue. The contract just has to pass. And I asked if it would be on, said we had voted to put it on warrant, a town meeting warrant, not on a secret ballot. So we're moving forward with that. And I don't know what they're going to do about the request to put a change into the charter. Maybe nothing, maybe nothing. I don't know, maybe something, I don't know. But all I'm telling you now is that the way I read it and the definition, it looks to me like we can only go with changes through the Ordinance Review Committee every 2 years in November for the,
Very detrimental to this community.
well,
It's terrible.
it's, again, I don't know why, but somehow I'm in the middle of this, but I was on the Charter Commission and I don't think we intended that, but other members might say, yes, we did. But that's the wording in the new charter. It says general election. And that's what we have to go by starting July 1st.
So what about the issues with the LD, with the new housing thing? I mean,
I don't know.
that's got to supersede the charter if we're under restrictions. I mean, if we're being forced by the state to comply.
I don't know.
By a certain
It's
date.
frustrating, and I think it's frustrating for me. I'm probably more frustrating for Brenda, not having any definitive rules. I mean, they're talking, a lot of talking, not a lot of walking.
I went to
So-
a meeting in Monroe, I can't remember, I lost track of time, and that was one of the subjects. And there aren't many towns that have changed. And I think Lyman, from what I read, we're not that far outside of the requirements. And what they said is if somebody comes in July 1 and they want to build something that we say we can't, but LD says that they can, what they're going to do is just file a lawsuit against the town, is what's going to happen. So my feeling is, let's not jump and do something that you may somewhere, shoot yourself in the foot or have to undo quickly or whatever. Very few towns, because they're waiting.
Right,
Yeah.
They're waiting.
Just give us the rules.
right.
From my understanding, we as a municipality had to designate areas that met criteria for.
Well, anyway.
So that would, it might prevent the possibility right on 111, a 70-unit affordable housing right next to Jackson's Corner.
Well, in any case, I think everybody is looking for some kind of guidance from the state. And then the only other issue we would have, let's say we had the guidance, then we'd have to go through the process with the new charter, which would push it off to, and the way I read it, to 24. Assuming it went through the Ordinance Review Committee and got the 75 signatures and all that stuff, which is certainly feasible.
Then we'd need to redo the zoning map to accommodate the affordable
Lots
housing
of
zone.
things, lots of things.
So I just watched a show on one of the news channels where the federal government housing is mandating in the Washington DC area that they can put multi-story low family income next to single family residence, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Boy.
And they said, be careful because this is what's coming. This is what they're pushing.
And I'm not sure how much of what they're dictating lines up with the comprehensive plan.
Right.
On one hand, they're saying
Well,
comprehensive plan drives everything,
yeah.
and then on the
I-
other hand, they're saying but. So
It-
I heard through the grapevine that there most likely will be postponement.
Well,
I
we'll
heard
see.
till October, and then someone else said more like a year. You may know more.
That's my guess.
No,
You
That's my
gotta
guess.
get the ground up.
And we went through
No.
that with the marijuana thing. I remember it took
Yeah.
forever. It passed years ago. And
I
it
would
took
just wish they'd
forever
give us
before
some
we got
guidance.
We're
rules
still
to.
waiting for the rules.
Right,
Give us
yeah.
some guidance.
So,
So, anyway, so I that's my 2 cents on changes.
Yeah.
And anyhow, I would hope that we can proceed with the contract zoning change, which it doesn't remember, it doesn't get rid of contract zoning, it modifies. And currently, the wording we have now, in my opinion, is violates state law because we have the caveat, but not limited to, and state law does not have those words in there.
Right.
So, I mean, you can read it and just make your own determination.
And those
But,
words supersede or overwrite any restrictions we have in a specific zone.
Right.
Well, in any case, it's, if we can get it through, if we can get the contract zoning cleaned up, I'd feel good about that. And then we have to proceed with other changes, and I know Cecile had some, I think, and.
Yes, and I tried to classify them into edits and corrections, which I don't think we need to get signatures, approval, or whatever, because they're just,
Scrivener.
yeah,
or-
either grammatic fix or a lot of references in our ordinance.
You did a good job.
Reference sections are not even
Obsolete.
there. So, and then there's a few, the ones in conflicts and clarifications, those might be a change. They're like definitions that are missing and whatever. So we would probably have to vote on those.
Yep.
But if you want to look those over, because if we can get the contract zone changes, we could get these, if we're going to edit
Oh,
with the zoning or the ordinance, we might as well put these corrections in there at the same time. I'm sure there's more. This was just done a
There's
while
always
ago.
corrections, revisions.
God. Oh, yeah, these are more,
And I did send this, the very first one, page 3, section 1.83. It says it needs a grammar fix and clarification, is an existing use. That's in the contract zone section. And that does say the use has to be an existing use in any zone. So I think that would be a conflict, I think, with
well,
what we
that
have.
conflicts with the words but not limited. to.
Right. So in the more strict, so for now, until we get this passed, this would be the more strict definition. But anyway, yeah, if you want to look these over and see if they're,
So did everybody get to read the minutes?
yes.
What about the only question I had was, and I sent a note out and I said not to answer, but about whether the voting, whether we want to,
Identify all votes, yea or
no,
nay.
it identified who opposed. Like, I was under that proposed ordinance changes. It said Paul, second, and one person opposed the motion, all others approved. And I don't have the bylaws as I read it, don't say anything about that. So do we want to identify that or not? I mean, it's up to you guys.
Bill, I think you made the point.
I made the point that in the charter for the Board of Selectmen, the vote has to be recorded for each individual.
I think.
Oh, who
And I'm not
voted for it?
opposed to that.
Who voted for, who voted against? Okay.
Right.
Yeah,
I don't have a problem with that.
In the minutes, in the minutes it's recorded?
It's in the charter.
It's in the
Yeah,
charter,
just
but
they recorded
but
it.
they put it in the minutes, okay.
At the same meeting.
Parliamentary procedure.
So
So we
what's
can
it-
check the charter to see if it says,
what change then, would you want to then change that? Are you saying you'd like to change that and say that you voted against it? Because you were the one.
I don't see a problem with doing that. And I think that's really good for people to be able to read who voted which way.
Yeah, I mean, if all voted in favor, you don't have to make it, obviously.
Correct.
right.
But if it's a split vote, it should be say A, B, C, and D voted yes, and F voted no.
I don't think we need to, I think we just need to adopt it as a best practice.
Well, we
I don't
can,
think we need to go through the whole
Bylaws.
bylaws change.
the only thing I was gonna say, that's so fast. The only thing I was gonna say is that every year we look at the bylaws in June or July and decide whether we want to make any changes or not. So that would be a good time to make that change if in
formally.
fact we would like to do so. So, yeah, I mean, I know that table of consanguinity gives some people problems, but that's still in there right now. But
But for
Anyhow.
now, identify if there is a split vote
Or an abstention.
and incorporate that into the bylaws next time we take a look at it.
Right.
Thank you.
do we want to make that change here to these minutes then, Julie?
Do you want it added or do you want it next time? or-
We can leave the minutes as they are.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't,
Okay, that's fine. I don't care.
Hasn't been a
Prove
practice that we've
that is-
adopted.
Yeah, we all know
Okay.
who it was.
That's all right.
It's public on YouTube.
Exactly.
And we know people watch it.
So I have the February 15th, 2023 Planning Board meeting minutes. I wasn't at this meeting, so I'm not going to make any motions.
I move that we accept the
We'll
the meeting minutes from February 15th.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No opposed. Okay, we'll pass around sign. Today is 3/1. Okay. Another day.
Question on parliamentary procedure. I'm a voting member tonight, but I wasn't on the last one, so do I?
I voted for it. I was.
No, do I sign? You were.
No,
Yeah, sign it.
I should be the one signing.
Bill should sign.
Oh, Bill should sign, okay, all right.
President. Yep.
Okay.
My claim to fame.
Who cares?
We all care.
So should we put Mr. Austin on for the next meeting, or?
Please.
are
I
we
think
gonna-
so.
Are we not going to that sidewalk till after the date's the meeting?
We're going to sidewalk before the meeting. We should put him on, I guess.
It's also in public hearing.
We got a public hearing at, for the.
Well, do we want him to come to the meeting if he doesn't have this, unless he has, if he does not have his documentation? Is there any point in him coming to the meeting?
Not
Mr. Austin?
really.
I think he needs to have his map and everything. right?
Pending documentation, I guess.
Yeah, with plot plan, full footprint of, I mean, we've got the proposed addition, but what's the existing
Right. Yeah, he's supposed to supply all the documentation on his lot.
setback?
And even
location,
historical documents.
Septic. Full package for us to review.
Yeah, don't put that on.
No, I'm gonna-
Talk to Brenda about that.
Okay.
Is there anything else for tonight's meeting?
That is-
Brenda?
Oh, Brenda has something.
Yes, this is really important, I need guidance. In your commercial district,
Yeah.
I want to one specifically. There's a piece of land that's like 9.8
Okay.
And the gentleman has had it for sale for 11 years. Nobody will buy it. They want 5 acres. And of course, you can't do that. Your ordinance says if you're using a lot in the commercial district for residential, you use the residential criteria.
Right.
So can he make one lot 3 acres and the other one the remaining?
Why not?
He can do that.
Well, I
I
don't,
wouldn't see why he couldn't.
But
Yeah.
it would have to say, I mean, I.
It would have to
expect-
stay
It
residential.
would have to say in the deed that
Stipulation.
would always ever,
perpetuity.
ever be used for a resident.
So it's 2 lots. It's 2 lots that he
He'd like
has.
to make it 2 lots.
Yeah.
Now, herein lies the issue. We have a Hong Kong situation. 111 suddenly miraculously explodes and it turns into the next Route 16 corridor North Conway.
Mhm.
And we have shopping malls. And we have a formerly legally conforming residential lot that in perpetuity can only be a residential lot.
Right.
What will become the highest and best use of that lot?
The good point about that is the driveway could be on Day Road.
It is.
It is.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah,
I mean, for that lot,
Oh.
it's kind of behind the one that he wants to be 5 acres. So it would be accessed from the Day Road, which makes it to me a little more palatable because at least it's not off 111.
Right.
Is that the house, the brick house?
It's
No.
actually the old Spang lumber property. It's right on the corner of 111.
Because if I remember, the brick, one with the brick house next to you, the deal was, is DOT would not get them a driveway cut on 111.
Right.
They had to come off Day Road. So if you split it, does that isolate the lot on 111 with no access?
Well, the one on 111 would be used as a commercial lot.
Yeah,
so
but
I
they
would
won't give you a cut for a driveway off of 111.
Still, it would be accessible from Day Road though.
But would that property abut Day Road? Or would they have to get a right of way?
Probably right away, you can't sell a lot now without
Okay,
access.
part of that lot is on Day Road.
The 5-acre piece?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it actually turns and goes up.
Yep.
So he could there, although I don't know why anybody would want a commercial entrance on Day
Well,
Road.
that's why the brick house wouldn't sell,
Well,
because DOT wouldn't give them the cut.
I'm thinking of the storage place farther up on 111, and you can't access it.
That's
off of
right.
111, you can access it off of water,
Yes.
so that would be comparable, I think.
Just, I don't understand, but I don't have to.
Oh,
So as long as the lot can be accessed from a different road.
And is it turning, you're asking to make it residential and not general purpose?
no, it's commercial.
It's commercial, but you want
But
to,
it's commercial, the zone is called commercial slant residential.
right. And you can put a residence on it and you can put a residence on that.
On 3 acres.
And then, but then you're under the rules of the residential zoning if you do that.
Right, correct.
But is this all one lot that's
It
9.8?
is.
So you can't split it.
You can't split it 2 commercial lots, so you can't go 5 and 5, and this is it by 4.
I see.
Right.
So that's why I said tonight, let me check with the board, rather than sit on this for another 10 years and get so frustrated.
Yeah,
Then make 1 commercial, 1 residential.
well, he could make 3 residentials, couldn't he?
5-acre area.
He can't, I don't.
But that would go into the subdivision.
Yeah, that'd be a
Well, I mean, but
But
it's,
even if you wanted to go some, you probably could.
I don't think he,
Road frontages.
well, I'm just saying, anyhow.
You'd have to have a residential road frontage, lot of places like 111.
No, on Day Road. Oh, you mean, yeah.
To do the proper amount of road frontage, unless they came back for.
I don't know, I don't want to get into it.
Cluster.
I think we need to think about that.
So if he doesn't have the 3, I can't remember, does residential require 375 feet on the road? I can't
Yes,
remember.
300.
So
I
he
think.
doesn't have
Isn't
that
it?
on Day Road, but there is a right of way that goes right up through there to a lot on
I'm
the
pretty
other
sure it's
side.
300.
That
We could-
considered road frontage? I think so.
The other thing you may want to consider is elevation brownfield.
Well, we're
But I
getting
think
in,
we're splitting hairs. If he wants a 5-acre lot or a 3-acre lot, that's what we should worry about.
yeah,
And
Yeah.
then he can figure out how to use it.
he can, yeah, it's up to him, really.
Right, because we're really not supposed to give them legal advice.
No, I mean, if,
Sometimes that gets a little.
yeah, and then if
If
it's
he
wrong,
decides to make 3 lots, he needs to go seek the council to,
yeah, let him decide what he wants to do.
But you believe he could do the 5 and 8?
I believe he could.
Yeah,
I mean, it does state right in the ordinance that would go to residential.
Does the 9.8 include the reservoir out there?
It include that little pond?
Yeah.
And that's a man-made pond, so it doesn't count. And I had come to the planning board not that long ago to ask you that, because I wasn't sure whether it was man-made.
What
It
the
was
question on
natural.
that?
There's a little body of water there.
Yeah, I know. I know I was doing construction in Kennebunk, we built a dead river. We had to seriously alter the plans because 50 years earlier, they had dug a very small retention pond and a little salamander came in there. And we had to
Just that
completely
residence.
change our construction plans.
are we done yet?
That's all I asked.
Have we covered everything?
So if there's nothing else, I'll make a motion to close the meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All that want to stay?
Just got something for Brenda.
Oh, Bill.
Yes. I had something else to hurt you. Okay.
It's still your book.
Yes.
Yes.
Sure.
You're welcome.
Get that.
Ay, ay, ay.
So we're done, I can shut everything off.
Yeah.
Yes.
Is it meeting or just between us? Or-
No,
No, it-
this is here.
Just
It's a couple of
information.
different things.
Oh, that's,
This is the booklet, okay?
that's the one I found.
I don't know what they're gonna